Eagles. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to the JAKIB postgame show. The Philadelphia Eagles destroy the Dallas Cowboys to win the NFC East 41-7. Your final score. Kenny Pickett's throwing touchdown. Tanner McKee's throwing touchdown. Saquon Barkley goes over 2,000 yards for the year. What a game today, Big Sills. How you doing on this Sunday post-game edition of the show, my friend?
Man, that was one whale of a balanced attack. That's what the offense should have looked like all year long. 120 yards from a receiver. Barkley goes over the 2K. By the way, congratulations on joining that exclusive club.
Yeah, what a feat, man. What a feat. What a season, man. For him.
And you had balance in the Cowboys, who put a JV team out there. Everyone was like, well, the quarterback, Hurts' importance to the team is so magnified, like it was a week ago, was so magnified. Man, I didn't even know he played on the freaking team today. Holy shit. I'll tell you this too, dude. For 17 consecutive weeks, next week is week 18, that defense is the real deal. That is a good group, dude. I mean, I know the Cowboys were limited in what they threw out there, but boy, I'll tell you something. They won that football game today with balance, Zander. They did it with running the ball, throwing the ball, and playing outstanding defense.
Yep.
And that's arguably, again, I get it, the opponent sucks. It's not the Steelers or it's not the Ravens. I get it. Still, you see the balance. That's a good thing heading in. Now you get Jalen Hurts healthy next week. I doubt they play him. But, boy, I just shows you this. Anybody could play the quarterback position in Philly and win.
I'm not going to go quite that far, but I will give you guys the rundown on the stats, and we'll continue to break it all down. I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here on the post-game show today. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to leave your comments in the chat box. We will get to some of those comments as well. I see them already flying in about big sales. Eagles win, though, 41-7. Kenny Pickett was in the game. He was 10 of 15 for 143 and a touchdown. Tanner McKee came into the game. He was 3 for 4 for 54 yards and 2 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley, Sills, 31 carries, 167 yards. Again, he goes over 2,000 on the season, and you brought up the defense. 4 turnovers today, Sills. That is 9 turnovers in 2 weeks of football for the Philadelphia Eagles defense. We are ready to go, baby. This is a playoff team, Big Sills. I really like where this team is with 1 week remaining to go to the playoffs.
Well, let me ask you this. Were you surprised by the balanced attack today? I was.
I
didn't know what to get out of the backups.
I didn't think it was so overly balanced compared to how it was last time we played the Cowboys with Hurts. I think we won that game 34-6, if I'm not mistaken. And it was similar passing numbers and similar running numbers in that. Actually, I think that was the one game Saquon, I think, got bottled up for 60 or 70 yards. I'd have to go back and look, but it did look balanced today, and I thought the backup quarterbacks did a really good job. They made some really nice throws. I think Tanner McKee, you see the potential of him. He's that big 6'6", man. He can throw that ball, and when he's on time, you have A.J. Brown, who makes it look all the better. But look, I thought they did a really good job. I really do. I thought they did I don't say that to slight Jalen Hurts, but I thought that the quarterbacks today, both of them, did an excellent job of throwing the ball, getting the ball to their receivers, and making plays when they needed to.
This has nothing to do with Jalen Hurts today. This is everything to do with what they put on the field here. And did I not say this? 45 attempts. They had 42. And let's not be over like 15 or 16 passing attempts. They had 19. I mean, that was the remedy that they had to beat the Dallas Cowboys. And as long as they didn't turn the football over, which they did once, I believe, they were great. I thought Kenny Pickett was outstanding. And I do think Tanner McKee was great. By the way, that catch that wasn't a touchdown by A.J. Brown, that one-handed.
Oh, my gosh.
Freaking unbelievable Odell Beckham style stuff that you saw in the corner over there. I'll tell you what, man. Tell me I'm wrong here on this. But don't you think Kellen Moore called an outstanding football game here with these 2 backup quarterbacks? Again, get this. McKee he was the scout team quarterback this week. The scout team quarterback looked better than Cooper Rush with the Cowboys today on how good that they were prepared. These 2 quarterbacks were prepared. I mean, they really did a great job, man. Coaching on both sides of the football, they did a great job today.
Yeah, Kenny Flickett will be Kenny Pickett now. Okay, he has earned the Pickett name back. He will no longer be trolled. He's done a good job for the Eagles in the last 2 games.
Dude, I thought McKee was great.
I thought McKee was great. I mean, he only threw the ball 4 times, but he did have 2 great throws for touchdowns. And once he got into a rhythm, I think you could see it a little bit better. And dude, he is just that big statue, old school looking quarterback when he's back there. And the thing I like most about him is I think he's a smart guy. Obviously, you go to Stanford, that's just a lot smarter guy than I am. But I like a smart quarterback. I like a guy that can read the defense like that and decipher plays and stuff. And
there you go. The processing of the plays in front of him, you see him processing the plays in front of him well. Hey, man, again, like I said, I thought after the first couple series, I thought Pickett settled down. Actually, Dallas did a decent job in the first part because they were loading up the box. But then once the passing game opened up, look what it did for Barkley, man. Barkley then started getting on the edges, and Dallas just could not set the edge, man. I got to give those quarterbacks a lot of love, man. I mean, I think they could do that with anybody under center in Philadelphia. I will say outstanding.
I will say this, without the bombastic nature of Big Sills, I am not Big Sills. I will let him be Big Sills because I want Big Sills to be Big Sills. But looking at it from an objective view, it is very clear to me as an Eagles fan that this roster is tremendous. Yep. And you're not entirely wrong when you say, if you get somewhat competent play, it doesn't matter who's back there. It's going to work when you have Saquon Barkley, when you have that offensive line, when you have those weapons. And I think, if anything, I think it's a credit to Howie and the defense, obviously the number 1 overall defense. I think it's a credit to Howie Roseman, man. He's built a juggernaut of a football team. There's not another team in the league, Sills, that can lose their starting quarterback and beat a team 41-7. Yeah. We haven't scored 40 points all year. You know that, right? That's our first 40 burger of the year.
Here's the one thing, again, without being over the top here on this, okay? Here, look.
Sileo, not over the top. I don't believe it.
They're going to win a lot of games, but are you going to win a championship with those 2 guys? Probably not. You know what I mean? Okay,
right.
Are you going to win a championship with those 2 guys right now? I'm not sure that that's the case, okay, because of the lack of experience, but there's no question. And I don't care what anybody says, Zander. Today, the passing game had its best weekend of the year. I mean, and I'll tell you what, even with the adversity.
I don't really agree with that.
Well, I'm going to tell you why, because it's the adversity of the backups. The adversity of the backups and not having your starting quarterback in there, that was an outstanding weekend. You did not have your frontline guys, and you still put up nearly 200 yards in passing. You had another guy go for 120 in receiving when it came to Devontae Smith. By the way, A.J. Brown had a touchdown catch in the end zone. And plus, you had a running back go for 167.
Yeah, and
Pickett was 10 of 15, 143. Also had a rushing touchdown in the football game. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, had a rushing touchdown in the game. So he had 2 TDs himself, and you had McKee go in there. The passing game was 13 and 19 for 197, 3 touchdowns and no turnovers. Well, again, that's kind of above what they've been doing all year long. And you had 180 yards rushing. I mean, dude, that's a great balanced football game that they had, and no question about it. By the way, guess who Vic Fangio's leading tackler was in the football game? Oren freaking Burks was the leading tackler in the game. Jesus criminy, man. What?
And he missed a little bit, too.
The assistant coach of the year award. I don't know what's that will be a travesty if he doesn't.
Yeah, we're going to get to that defense. As we mentioned, 4 turnovers today. That's 9 turnovers in 2 weeks. I know they didn't have their best game last year in terms of yards and giving up touchdowns, but you turn the ball, you take the ball away 9 times in 2 games, you're legit. You're a turnover machine at that point. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Sills, 2 picks. We're going to get to that defense. I do want to stick on the offense a little bit. Now, here's the question, Sills. And I do want to congratulate the Philadelphia Eagles. They clinched the NFC East today. A great job by the team. And they now clinched at minimum the number 2 seed in the NFL for the playoffs. So we are looking pretty now going into the playoffs. The lowest we will be is the 2 seed. So we're going to get at least 2 games if you win, at least 1 game, at least 1 game at home for the playoffs, which is great stuff for them. What do you do now, Sills? going into week 18. You're on the brink of the Dickerson record. You've already locked up the 2 seed. Do you play everybody next? What do you do? I mean, my gut is rest everybody because I'm focused on the bigger mission of winning the Super Bowl. But as someone pointed out to me on Twitter, and if you're in the chat, I appreciate you. He said, come on, Zander, these players, they care about that stuff. And he's right. They do. I think you should care more about championships, but they do. What do you do next week if you're the Eagles?
I think it's the journey to the championship and part of it. I mean, I think that offensive line will be branded as the all-time leading single-season rushing. How would you not like that as a group in the Philadelphia Eagle history? Think about this, Zander. If you're Jordan Mailata, you're Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson's got a Super Bowl ring already, correct?
Yep.
Okay, and he's got another NFC champ. He's got 2 NFC championship games. How would you like to put this on your tombstone going into Canton? That I also was on the offensive line and had the all-time single-season rushing record on my resume, along with 2 Super Bowls. I mean, I listen. I get the resting. You're 101 away. He's going to get this if you play him. It's against the shitty Giants. The Giants have already surrendered. Real quick, too, also on that. If you're John Mara, the owner of the New York Giants, and you see Barkley with 203, and he's part of that exclusive club, how do you not go to Joe Schoen and go like this? What were you guys thinking? And I get where everybody, I heard you and John say, what were the Giants? My opinion, you're trying to accumulate great players. You're not trying to get rid of great players. You're trying to create great. Maybe Saquon Barkley might have helped Daniel Jones keep his job. You don't know that, man. How about drafting some decent old linemen in New York? All that being said, do you play him back to the original question? If it's me, every single player that I've spoken to, Hugh Douglas, Ike, all them guys, there is no doubt they want to see this. And I get where the media is. Hey, rest your guys going in. Personally, man, Jalen Hurts has already had a week off, maybe a week and a half off now because he really missed that Washington game. Do you really want to have him go 3 weeks off before he sees active football again? It's almost like you're back into preseason again. And that passing game under him has not been that great. And so you're going to go in there again, a little bit cold, probably playing Washington again. So, again, I mean, Washington, we'll see how they finish up. They could be a 12-win team this season. So, again, I do think it's something to think about. Now, again, I think it's all going to be under this. If Minnesota wins tonight and then Detroit wins also on Monday, then it becomes a point, Zander, do you play these guys a half? Right. Get him the record and then get his ass out of there. And as soon as he gets it, then you sit him. But to me, it's all going to be determined on what happens with Minnesota's game and also Detroit's game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. This is a tough one for me because I see both sides of it, where the fan in me is like, let's get healthy. Let's get ready for the Super Bowl run, right? But as a professional, as a person who has my own goals and my own aspirations in life, and you obviously talking to a former player who played the game at the highest level, you got goals. You have, things you want to accomplish personally and professionally. And I don't brush that aside. I understand if Saquon Barkley and, like you said, Lane Johnson, those type of guys want to go out there and get that record. So I have no issue with
NFL history. By the way,
if
you're Kellen Moore and you want to be a head football coach, wouldn't you like to have this? I had the number 1 offense in Dallas twice, and now I have one of the teams that was the number 1 rushing attack with the all-time single season. Wouldn't you want that on your resume when you're out trying to pursue a head coaching job? He's going to get credit for that as well. I mean, there's a lot of things to think about organizationally too. And I think that'd be a great number you're known for being a physically dominant team. Shouldn't Howie Roseman how about Jeff Stoutland too? Don't you think that would matter to Jeff Stoutland, the run game coordinator, on him having
the storied career he's built here? Yeah, the tremendous career he's built here in Philly, adding on to that. It's hard to disagree with what you're saying. I think there's a lot, and add this to it. You can do it against the New York Football. It's storybook.
It's poetic justice.
It really is. It's poetic. That's the perfect word for it. It's completely poetic. Let's talk a little bit about the quarterbacks. We talked a little bit about the open, but I do want to get into them. Pickett, I thought he played well, and Tanner McKee, I thought he played well. What'd you see from those two guys today, Big Sills? Getting a little deeper on the two quarterbacks and what they were able to do in the offense today.
I think both those guys fit the style of Kellen Moore as play caller way better than Jalen Hurts. I'm not saying to you that those two guys are better than Jalen Hurts. That's not what I'm saying. But what I do think that they're better at than Jalen Hurts is being pocket passers. I think that was evident. These guys have had limited practice all year long, taking reps, and those guys went into that football game. And I get it, guys, and I'm with you on it. The Dallas Cowboys put a JV football team and a practice squad team. We pretty much said this the entire time. But you got to remember, these guys have not seen first-team reps a lot. It's been the majority of it with Jalen Hurts. I thought those guys did a nice job at progression reading. I thought those guys, how many targets did they hit in that ball game too, all those guys, when it came to what they did in the wide receiving core, and plus with Barkley making catches. I mean, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You had 6 guys receiving the football, and there was 13 receptions in the ball game for 197 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, Smitty had 6 catches for 120. AJ had 3 for 36 and a touchdown. Calcaterra made a contribution. I think these guys really did a great job, man, and I think these guys were pretty good in the pocket. I think it was a slow start for Pickett after the first 3 series, but he got into the rhythm. What concerns me about him, 2 weeks in a row, man, that guy gets hit. What is he, a China doll made of porcelain? What are we doing here, man? I mean, this guy got banged up twice in a row. And if Jalen gets knocked up or hit up or something like that in a ball game, in the New York game or in the opening round, you can't have that guy banged up going into that.
It's Tanner time, baby. What are you talking about?
No, I think, hey, I'll tell you what, he had really good footwork in the pocket. And I think, how about this, Zander? I think him being 6'6", I think there's a benefit to seeing over that gigantic goal line versus Jalen Hurts being 6 foot and having to look up over the line. He looks down over the line at being 6'6". I think that helps in the pocket.
Absolutely. I would agree with that 100%. Should be interesting to see how the Eagles close this out. I want to thank Rob Williams for becoming a member. Rob, appreciate you, brother. We will be giving away a Saquon Barkley jersey, everybody. He eclipsed the 125 number, and we got plenty more giveaways to do here on JAKIB Sports. So get your memberships in. Rob, we appreciate you for joining, my man. You are officially entered in to everything. Let's read a couple super chats, Big Sills. I'll read our biggest 2 super chats right now. Jason A-Team says, our birds are great. Pickett was good too. Dude is a warrior. Respect. But Tanner time was the best. I love this team. Bond still is incredible to watch. CJ keeps stealing Q's interceptions. EAGLES Eagles. Good stuff, 18. Appreciate that, my man.
I thought Q got owned a couple times out there.
Yeah, he did. It was just, I thought it was his worst game.
He's been beaten. I wonder the rookie wall. I think you posted that, Zander.
Yeah.
With the rookie wall, you're starting to see a little bit of that because you're starting to see the kid give up some yardage back there.
Yeah, he did. He got beat a couple times today. I think it's fair to say. I mean, he won 15 weeks with no touchdowns given up.
I know.
The last 2 weeks, he gave up a touchdown each
I'm
week.
with you.
So,
I got it.
I mean, he's been good, but has he? Is that rookie wall coming in? I think it's fair to talk about. Christopher Darker checks in. He says it would only be poetry for Saquon to set the record against the Giants next week. They got to let him go for it. That record is a forever statement to his legacy, MVP, and Golden Jacket. Wow, big stuff there. By Darker.
He won't win the MVP award, and he won't be a gold jacket guy, but being a most valuable player and having the single season rushing mark, I'll tell you what it does do. It puts him in a conversation for people to say this, what if? And so you can put him on a doorstep, maybe, depending on how he finishes his career. Because remember something, John McMullen brought a great point up, Zander. Next year, you're going to have a running back with over 340 carries. How is that going to play out with a 30-year-old guy or a 29-year-old running back next year, 28-year-old running back? I mean, he's got a lot of tread on his tires.
Yeah, he does. There's no doubt about it. As far as the gold jacket, too, I think being in New York for 5 years, 6 years, obviously hindered that. But still, listen, let's just say for a second he breaks the Dickerson record. Let's say he gets a Super Bowl at some point in the next couple of years here in Philadelphia. Let's say, another 1,500 yard year. You might start to piece that together where maybe he does get in that room. I'm with you where he's not there yet, but I'm not going to rule it out. He's running like a madman right now, and he looks like he's drinking from the fountain of youth, man. I mean, he looks better now than he did ever in New York, and a lot of that.
He's such a patient runner, and I'm going to give him a comparison.
He really is, yeah.
He reminds me a little bit of Emmett and how he just allows the play to develop. Yeah. He sits there and lets the play develop, and then he's so explosive into the hole. And you know what makes him greater than any back that they have had maybe since Westbrook has been that he's so great in traffic in between the tackles. I mean, this guy's elusive, and he's powerful. That's a frightening combination. Now, look, you watch Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's not going to be moving around too much inside the tackles. He's going to run your ass over. I mean, those are 2 exceptional. I mean, Barkley has had 340 carries so far this year, by far the most in his career. I think it's by 60 carries this year. And Henry's had 300 carries so far this year. So, I mean, Saquon Barkley has carried the football a ton this year.
Yep.
And again, the question will be this week, depending on what happens in Minnesota, Detroit's games, on what you do this week and how many carries you want to get him, getting him ready for the postseason.
Yep, absolutely. He had 31 carries today, 167 yards.
I thought he'd be around that number.
Unbelievable. You did. You said 30 carries in the pregame show, so credit to you, and 167 yards. So big game for Saquon Barkley. Sells good stuff on the offense. Let's jump over to the defense, man. 4 turnovers today. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, 2 picks. It's 9 turnovers in the last 2 weeks. I thought the one thing, if I'm going to nitpick, and there's not much to nitpick, all right, please, I'm nitpicking. I know I'm nitpicking, but I thought the run defense wasn't the same without Nakobe Dean. I thought Nakobe Dean was missed in the run game. You saw Rico Dowdle have a couple big runs. He had 23 carries for 104 yards. I'm nitpicking, I know, but I do think you see the role that Nakobe Dean has, and he's done a really good job of playing downfield, filling the gaps, and he's really good in that run game, and I think he was missed out there today, even though Oren Burks did have a good game.
I'm going to also say this. I think Jordan Davis looked like he was tired.
Yeah.
I thought he played high. I thought he got moved off the ball a couple times. In my opinion, I thought the backups that came in and spelled him played better. I mean, I just, when I look at him play, the Booker guy, I thought played better. I mean, the kid was really great when he was in there. I didn't think Trotter played all that bad, but the defensive tackles, man, I mean, I don't know, man. Carter was like a little bit of a no-show himself here today. You know what I mean? I mean, Zander, both of those guys inside did not look that hot in this ball game. But again, like you said too, man, Dean not being out there, I think was also a factor. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, they did run for 127 yards. I mean, Rico had 103 yards rushing.
Well, yeah. I felt like they ran the ball pretty well. I mean,
that
was the one thing I said I nitpick. But overall, Sills, you gave up 7 points. How about that, Brandon? By the way, how about that Brandon Aubrey 61-yarder? That thing looked like it was good from 70 if it was more accurate.
I know, man.
God.
That guy is some kicker, man. And
that dude's got a leg.
I said that in the pregame show that's one of the advantages that I thought maybe Dallas had going into that game, because that guy's got a gigantic foot in there. But again, I see somebody saying that Carter was great. Carter was a no-show. He put a goose egg up in numbers, and they gave up 100 yards. And they gave up 100 yards rushing. I mean, once again, when you make those comments and people are going like this, well, a guy named Rico Suarez had 100 yards rushing on 23 carries, and you gave up goose eggs. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, I think both tackles got pushed off the ball a bit.
Yeah,
and for the record, the Dallas Cowboys were playing second and 13 guys in the middle of the offensive line.
Yeah, well, I think the stats with those two guys don't always tell the full story, but you're not wrong. They didn't have their greatest stat day, but Jalen Carter, I thought was still tough to deal with out there for the Cowboys offensive line.
Again, okay, you and I will agree to disagree, because they ran the ball on them.
No, they did. You're right. They did. They definitely ran the ball today. Sills, you know who's one guy who's sticking out to me on this defense right now as completely arrived? I'm no longer saying he's getting there. I'm saying he has arrived.
Who?
Nolan Smith. Edge. He made another great play today. He was punching that ball out. He forced the one fumble. I've seen enough now in the last couple of weeks. Every single week, he's making an impact play on the football. And as a second-year player, I'm ready to say that Nolan Smith has arrived as an NFL player, as a contributor, and as an impact player on the defense.
I'm not there yet, and I'll tell you why, because I don't believe his size is going to be an advantage to him. I think that's going to be a detriment to him, because he's not the biggest dude. And by the way, they robbed him of that sack. They took that sack away from him. So, but I thought he did one thing that's important, Zander. I thought that he set the edge, but to sit there and say that guy is starting to live up to being a first-round draft pick, I am not there yet. I think he's come along, and I think he really has improved as a football player. But once again, I mean, has he taken the seat of Hassan Reddick? No. Has he been a guy that you're going to – well, he's drafted to do that. You're a first-round pick.
That's fine. Don't you got to give him a little more time, though? I mean, he's a second-year player. I think.
No. I'm more optimistic now, giving him more time. and not having to look. I'll tell you what I
Right.
do now also. I'm not looking to replace him, Zander. I'm looking to replace Sweat in the coming draft here because
Right.
Sweat with the knee and all that and the money, I'm looking to go into the edge, not looking at him. I'm looking at trying to get another guy on the edge. So no. I'm not. By the way, he's better than Huff. There's no doubt he's better than Huff because he
Huff
can
is
do more
good.
than Huff. Okay. And I'm in this position with him now. No. Let's move forward. More reps, another year. Let's see how his – one thing Vic brings up all the time about him is what? He's small. And that is a problem for Vic because he's not sure about how he's going to hold up. Now, remember something. He wasn't the starter, Zander. Okay? He was not the starter. BG was the starter. He's taking a lot of those reps. Let's see how the additional reps take its toll or doesn't take its toll on the war of attrition. But I will give you this. He has played a lot better and more so that you now know that he's part of the future moving forward.
Yep, absolutely. Another big player today that stuck out on defense. Breaking down the defense now. We broke down the offense at the start of the show, and I'll get to some super chats, and we'll continue to break down this entire game. And then later on in the show, we will talk to John McMullen, who will join us live from Lincoln Financial Field. So looking forward to doing that. Appreciate everybody watching right now. Don't forget to hit that like button for us, as it's one of the best things you can do to help the channel grow. And if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. We recently hit 50,000 subscribers, and we can't thank all of you guys for your support of the channel. Another guy, Sills, CJ Gardner-Johnson, 2 picks today. He's got 6 on the year, back to the number he had in 22. So he continues to make an impact. And I'll say this, he is looking better and better down the stretch in the last couple of games. He started off the season a little slow. I think he's come on really strong and is playing his best football right now.
He did get banged up in the game, too. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on, too. So we'll probably get a little bit more from John on what his status is going to be moving forward. And that's why maybe next week is going to be very important for him to be able to get some rest himself. But he has upped his game. I'll tell you what, man, he has. I'd say the last month of the season, he has started to look like a little bit like the 22 Gardner-Johnson that we saw being able to patrol. I thought he jumped that route outstanding. I thought his getting to the football. He's a playmaker. He's not the best run fit guy. He's not the best tackler on the planet, but you know what he does do? He creates turnovers, and that's what you needed on that football team. And now you're starting to see the guy starting to play a lot better than what he has. I didn't really think he played very well in the first half of the season. I think he's playing a little bit better right now.
Yep, no doubt about it. Good stuff for the defense today. Good stuff really all around. I mean, you don't have your starting quarterback, and you go in versus a division opponent, and you win 41-7. That's no small feat. So the good job of the Philadelphia Eagles today handling business. Let's read a couple super chats here. Sills, we broke down offense and defense here. And special teams was good today. No blunders there. So good stuff there. Sills, let's see what Sills has to reply to this. Anthony Wilson says, Shock Jock Sills is back at it again. The Eagles are 1-4 all time without Jalen. Stop with the anybody can quarterback this team. Now to your point, Hope Hurts learns from Pickett and McKee how to get it out faster. I'm in the middle on this, Anthony. Look, I'm not in the Sills boat of Jalen stinks, but at the same time, we just beat the Dallas Cowboys 41-7, and he wasn't in the game. Anthony, I don't think it's a knock on Hurts. I think it's a credit to how good this roster is, and pointing that out isn't a bad thing. Sills, I'll come to you now. What's your response to Anthony Wilson here?
The 13 quarterback who had basically no reps this week went into that football game, and there wasn't a drop-off at all. As a matter of fact, the passing game was elevated. I mean, I've seen the Eagles play against shitty teams. I saw you play against – so wait a minute. Let me get this right, guys. So what happened in the Carolina game when the passing game was pathetic? Okay? The Dallas Cowboys have more talent than Carolina does. Okay? I mean, so when you had Micah Parsons out there, you had one of the top defensive players in the NFL out there. So where was the passing game against that shitty Carolina team? So when you get a third-team guy, not the first-team guy, going out there and elevating your passing game, like I said, do I think that Jalen Hurts is better than Kenny Pickett and Tanner McKee as a starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles? No. But do I think both those guys are better pocket passers? Absolutely. I think that's evident. Jalen has not been a good pocket passer this year. He's been okay, not awful. The numbers have suffered this year, and they've been what they are. They're a Barkley-driven football team. And with their number 2 when it comes to Jalen Hurts running the football. Jalen is a more complete player than those other 2 guys. Nobody's going to dismiss that. That's a fact. But when it comes to being a pure passer, let me ask you this. After watching these 2 guys today do what they did, do you think Sam Darnold could come in here and do exactly what Sam Darnold's doing in Minnesota after watching what these 2 guys just did? I do.
I think it would look a little different than the Eagles look, but I don't think you're wrong. And again, I don't say that as I'm trying to tear anyone down or take away from anybody. I think it's the reality of our football team. And by the way, wouldn't you rather have a team that is more versatile enough to handle a backup quarterback than a team that sucks and is reliant? Well, who'd you rather be, the Bills or the Eagles? If they lose Josh Allen, they're not winning a game.
That's right. Dude, it's one of the only things that is – they're the only team in the NFL, Zander, that could lose their starting quarterback and still potentially win the Super Bowl. Now here, before you say that's not true, you did it in 17. You can do it again here because you basically have the same dynamic.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong about that. Good stuff, Anthony Wilson. I appreciate the super chat, brother. Thanks to Clark for becoming a member. You're officially entered into all of our giveaways. We will be giving away a Saquon Barkley jersey giveaway this week. So looking forward to doing that for everybody here. Let's get to a couple more super chats. Lord Lubu checked in at the start of the show, and he said, McKee needs to start against the New York Giants. I want to see more of what he can do. If there is a situation, Sills, next week where let's just say the starters are out, you like to see McKee over Pickett?
Because Pickett's banged up. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to put the healthiest guy out there and see what they can do with this. I mean, now again, if you put Tanner McKee out there without Saquon Barkley, okay, that's going to be a different look too. Yeah. Remember that? Okay?
That's true.
You put Kenny Gainwell in there, that's going to look different. So your boy might get planted on his ass. But if they're going for that record, Zander, 101, and you start Saquon Barkley and the entire starters, I have no issues in saying this. The Giants have waved the flag, dude. They're going to be one of the top teams to get a pick in April's draft.
And they won today.
Looking to win?
They won today.
Oh, my God. Total giant.
And I think they put up, if I'm not mistaken, they put up 45 points on the board. Let me look that game. Yeah, they won 45-33. Malik Neighbors had 7 catches for 171 and 2 tutties in that game. Drew Lock was 17-23 for 309 and 4 touchdowns. This guy said, you want the number 1 overall pick? Fuck you, New York. And he dishes out that game. You got to be kidding me.
I'll tell you what, man. And they beat a team that was 7-8, the Colts, that was fighting for the playoff spot. And they were sitting in the 9-hole with the potential to still make the playoffs. I'll tell you what that does, Joe Burrow. That's one of the stones that had to fall for Joe Burrow's Bengals to make it to the playoffs. They end up losing. They needed to lose one of the 2. Colts just lost that. Miami loses, and then Denver loses again, and the Bengals went out. They make the playoffs. After starting 1-4.
Yeah, that's insane. I will echo this comment. Slagger says, who the F was playing in that secondary? Dude. I mean, right, Slagger.
Cowboys are
Drew Lock, 17-23 for 309 and 4 touchdowns. Holy shit. What is going on there? Let's keep going. A couple super chats. Dober's Army checks in. If you're going to risk Saquon next week, should have just kept him rolling in this game to make next week easier and rest him sooner after he gets it. I kind of agree, Dobers. There was like 10 minutes left. I was almost thinking, well, you already played him this much. Just let him keep running. They couldn't stop him at the end of the game.
That's a great, hey, and like you said, wouldn't it have been better to get him as many yards as possible this week and then play him a quarter if he only needed 65 yards in a quarter and a half next week? Because now, again, 100 yards, that's a pretty good ball game that you're going to have to play at least 35 minutes. Well, depends. I don't know what Giant team's going to show up this coming week, but you can guarantee you this. John Mara's going to come down and go like this. Zander, Mike gets picked up on this one here. Ready? Hey, I do not want Barkley breaking that record versus the New York Giants. That is, I will pay all of you an incentive. He is not to break that record versus the team that said you have nothing left. Do you remember what those guys were saying in the Hard Knocks? Nobody's going to pay him big money for a guy that's kind of on the other side.
Unbelievable.
We'll see. Could you be?
We will see. You know, the other caveat there, I see a lot of people tweeting out, "Oh, just play him in the first half. He'll get the 100."
Yeah, that's not what
I'd
they're
have to
like.
check on this. I don't know if Saquon's had 100 in the first half yet. Remember, a lot of his yards have come in the second half of games. Even today, he had 40 yards at halftime or 41 at halftime. He ended up with 168. Like a lot of his yards come in the second half of games. So next week's going to be an interesting decision for the team.
He's a wear you out kind of guy, you know. Keep giving him the ball. Keep giving him the ball. He's going to catch you.
Yep, 100%. Brian Pumper says it's Tanner
Tanner time.
We're not going back. QB1 solidified.
Pumper, man. Hey, Pumper, Tanner McKee time. No, what is it? McKee season.
I will have to push back on McMullen because he told me Tanner McKee sucks out loud. Tanner McKee doesn't stink out loud. He's got a nice arm. He gets rid of the football.
Here's going to be John. Who the hell did they put out there? He's not wrong on that.
I know he's not wrong. He will have something. He'll have some sort of rebuttal for me on the show, which is good stuff. I appreciate it.
The passing game looked great today. Unbelievable, man.
I can't really look. It did look good, but I can't really agree with you that it was that crazy with other than Jalen. I mean, without it was 13 and 19 for 197. That's about what it looked like with Jalen.
Right. It was balanced though.
It was balanced.
I mean, what did you see today that they hadn't done all year long with Hurts? What did you see that they did different? Anything different? I mean, wasn't that a normal performance by the Eagles today?
It was. And the other thing is, everybody says, and I say this as well, that Jalen helps in the running game. Well, yes. Saquon did have 31 for 167 today. So that narrative maybe is a little bit out the door, at least for the week. So it'll be interesting to see what they all do, man. What they do with this whole setup. And I don't know. What do you said you're leaning play next week. Does that mean you're putting Jalen Hurts back out there?
Not him. I'm not putting him out there. I'm going to put I might put Jalen out there. I might put Jalen out there because it would help Barkley. It would help Barkley more in the run game than the other two guys. If he's healthy to play, Zander, I might put him out there because you know why? Again, the +1, like John said in the pregame show, there's no question he helps in the run game. So it would probably give Barkley more of an opportunity to get that running attack number. And so I would play him out there now I think this is going to be a really big talking point this coming week because it's going to depend on Minnesota, Detroit on Monday night.
So can I just tell you something that I'm really excited about right now? All right. And I know you're not going to feel this, but everybody in the chat will. What did we beat the Cowboys the first time? Was it 34-6? Is that am I wrong on that score? Well, let's say it was 34-6. We beat the Cowboys this year 75-13 in a sweep of them. First time since 2011. Man, fuck the Dallas Cowboys. That's Eagle football, baby. That's what I'm talking about. 75-13.
Let me say this to you.
Whooping sells.
If you're Jerry Jones and you're Stephen Jones, there's no question. Look how far behind you are to the Dallas Cowboys. Their 13 quarterback is better than anything you have as a second-team quarterback. I mean, the receivers that the Eagles have. I mean, the O-line the Eagles have. Where do you have – and by the way, where the fuck was Micah Parsons? And once again, he was an absolute no-show. The generational player that my boy John McMullen keeps saying, I didn't even know he was on the field today. He was a non-factor.
I don't think he did anything today.
He was a non-factor. The only thing he did was hurt Pickett. That's the only thing.
Did he show up on the stat sheet? Where is Micah Parsons? He had 2 tackles today and 1 tackle for loss.
Generational.
1 quarterback hit.
Yeah, well, I don't think so. Okay. I don't see the had an offsides and he knocked Pickett out of the game. Okay, well, guess what? You had 41 put on you. How are you good when you have 41 put on you? Give me a break, man. That guy is a very good football player, but he is not a generational player.
I'm happy we throttled the shitty Cowboys again. They moved to 7-9 on the year. The Philadelphia Eagles moved to 13-3. Boy, that Zander win prediction is looking pretty good right about now.
Man, that regular season record looks absolutely unbelievable. Now, will you guys be able to do one thing that's the most important thing? Finish the race. You want to know who finishes the race? There's a team in the middle of the country by the name of the Kansas City Chiefs right now that are
God.
15-1, and they're going for their three-peat, okay? And their fourth Super Bowl in 5 years. I don't know about you, Zander. That's a team that knows how to run through the tape. Do the Philadelphia Eagles know how to run through the tape? Yet to be answered, my friend.
Well, where you're right, and I will, and I'll differ from other Eagle fans. Maybe not the great people in JAKIB Nation because they're smart fans, but you're not wrong. We got to do it in the playoffs. This is all fun and games, but you get bounced in round one, it won't be so fun anymore. Josh Herman checks in. He says, "I want it to be known I posted my super before Sills' Parsons rant. So let me find his other super." He goes, "Did Parsons play? Last I heard, he was running his mouth about the birds in the words of Big Sills. Take a knee, kid." I love it.
Very nice,
great
Josh.
stuff by
Very
Herman.
nice stuff. Very good. Very good, Josh.
All right, appreciate that. Let's get to a commercial break here. When we come back, we'll dive more into this football game. Birds win 41.
Flick it, just going out there with that passing
Who was
offense.
better today, Pickett or McKee?
Let's answer that on the other side.
All right, let's do it. Appreciate everybody for being here. Hit that like button. We will return in 3 minutes on the JAKIB Postgame Show. Back in 3.
Ignite your night.